So we're back. I'm just checking, make sure that my rental car is locked, and we're going to talk about a little news. Of course, this is with greetings to Alex Cristoforo and Alexander Macaris of the Duran, because this report will also be on the Duran's website. But I wanted to take a little time to offer some perspective. They say sometimes it's good to go up on a mountain and get yourself focused. Well, I'm up on the mountain. Let's see if I'm focused. Take a look at this. You can see clouds. They're forming over here, and they're brushing the summit. And we'll probably see these. You see, here they come towards me right now. This is pretty amazing. I've never been up here to see something like this, and here it comes. Watch this. That's cloud. That is cloud. Carries with it some coolness. It's possible to snow up here any time of the year, but I don't know if that'll happen today. It's pretty mild. It was like in the high 50s or 60s Fahrenheit, so say like 15, 16 Celsius. Anyway, what is in the news? Well, I've been in the United States for about 40 days, 45 days, since June 27th, so maybe about 40 days. And I have to say that I have seen a rather selected view of the nation, because most of it is in places where people like this are not. In very rural environments, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona. I did a retreat in Florida at a monastery sort of retreat center. So all of the places that I've been to, for the most part, have been places where you're not going to see the kind of wokery and nonsense that American society is getting known for in Russia and throughout the world. Does that mean that it's not here at all? No, of course not. It's definitely here. And it's been a very interesting 40 days, because in that 40 days, I landed on the day of the really incredible debate between Biden and President Trump. Saw and heard mostly that debacle. I saw a little bit of it, but I listened to it on the radio, and it was as convincingly bad on the radio as I could have ever expected it to be seen. But then when I saw those scenes, of course, it was even something else. Look at this. This is getting socked in. It's going to be interesting. And going down is going to be an ordeal. Because if you can't see, if you're getting zero visibility here on the summit and you're going on the road, it's going to be a slow go. And a lot of these people are leaving already. And so what I might do is just delay it a little bit, because that way a lot of people will be gone and I might have the road a little bit more to myself. I had some of it up to myself and coming up. So anyway, so I've seen the Trump-Biden debate. And all of the things that have happened afterwards, the chaos and tribulation concerning Biden's inability to serve, his eventual withdrawing from the campaign, the assassination attempt against President Trump, the installation of Kamala Harris as the new, Wonder Woman, if you will, or as Greg Gutfeld, or not Greg Gutfeld, who was the guy on Fox that said it, he was pretty clever. Jesse Waters said pantsuit messiah. That's a very funny term. Well, I've seen all this, and we watch it. We've seen, I did not see the Olympic woke debacle, for which I was grateful. I've just listened to reports on it, like, the ones that Alex has done and other people have done, and that's enough for me. I don't need to see it. So, but I want to talk about another side of America that exists, and that is the Christian side, the Orthodox Christian side in particular, but also as my family is not in the Orthodox Church, they're in the Protestant Church, Baptist mainly, and some other things. Baptist, Messianic Jews, and so on. They're trying different things out, right? And what I find in talking with one of my colleagues, I find that my experience is apparently radically different than people that live in the cities, perhaps, or northeastern cities, because the people here are pretty interested in trying to do the right thing. They're pretty interested in Christianity. They, everybody here knows I'm come from Russia. They know I'm an American, but they know that I've lived in Russia for 9 years, and, they know the whole thing. And they have no criticism about Russia, or, they kind of, maybe it's politeness, but they're more curious than anything else. When I tell them some of the stories, they are impressed. But I had one very impressive moment. I was in a ophthalmologist office, and when I told them that I was here from out of town, or from overseas, and that I was from Russia, I literally saw a couple people go, huh? Like this, and they looked at me, and there was one lady that was really curious, and so we had to sit down, and she said, I want you to tell me all about President Putin. And so I said, well, what do you know about him? And she said, well, I know he's a murderer, and, so I just listened to this and said, okay. And I pointed out to her, well, Trump is a murderer too. He took out Soleimani. Obama is a murderer. Biden is a murderer. I think probably every president becomes a murderer. So why does that make President Putin particularly awful? Our presidents have been doing that. Doesn't mean that, whether I agree with these things or not is of no consequence. It's this is neat to see. Watch while I'm talking. It's not about whether it's right or wrong. It's the thing that heads of state often end up doing. I wish it weren't so, but I'm not a head of state, and I would not be the one to be able to qualify whether or not something like that should be done or should not be done. It's pretty neat, isn't it? This is the first time I've ever seen something like this, and I hope it doesn't turn into a thunderstorm, because I'm really close to the very top of the mountain, and I'm a nice target. So it will probably turn into a thunderstorm pretty quick, judging from how cloudy it's getting. Maybe have a few minutes. So anyway, by the way, I don't know if you can see that, but that building says 14115 on it, like an address, but it's because the summit elevation of the mountain, which is actually over there. You see where you may see a little monolith sticking up there. That's the actual summit, and it's 14,115 feet tall. So it's a tall mountain. It's one of the biggest ones. Not the biggest in North America, but it's the second highest one you can drive up to the top of in Colorado or anywhere else in the United States. The other one is about 100 feet higher than this one is, so it's really not that much different. Different terrain, though, of course. So anyway, I've seen all of this stuff happen with my friends and this lady that was talking to me about Putin, and I started telling her about Russia and about its traditional drive towards traditional values. The Constitution, saying marriage is that between one man and one woman and nothing else. And I told her about some of the development that's taking place, and she was absolutely floored. We traded information. I have yet to hear from her, but maybe I will hear from her at some point. But she was a good example of the things that people don't know here. And one of the things that's really, really impressive when it's not a good thing, but you have to, it is impressive how total the blanket of media narrative still remains in the United States. Now, being a guy that's involved in alternate media and independent news reporting, and since I get most of my sources from independent people, and I use the networks only for, feeling the mood, trying to get what the narrative is, I don't really rely on them much for information. It stuns me to see how much people actually take the four big American networks seriously, and by four big, I mean CBS, NBC, ABC, and Fox. CNN has had a diminished audience, though they got a big kick from the debate. But if you want to include CNN in the list, I guess you could too. It's certainly a well-known network. I just have been under the understanding that it was largely losing relevancy, at least before the Trump-Biden debate. So there's so much that folks don't know. There's so much that folks don't know about the stuff with Israel and Palestine, and the narratives are just locked in really, really hard. You've got to support Israel, or you're a supporter of Hamas. And what are these crazy people doing demonstrating for Hamas in New York? And I've said to that I don't really believe those people, at least a lot of them, I don't think those demonstrators have any idea what Hamas is. And if they did, they probably wouldn't support it. But they are demonstrating, probably because somebody egged them on to do this, with a little tidbit. That's the train, with a little tidbit of incendiary information. That means it's going, you see that red over there? That's a train. There's a train that actually comes up here. It runs on the Cog Railway system so that it doesn't lose control going down the mountain. This is a new system, new train. You can only see red. It gets you up a little higher. But there has been a train system going up and down this mountain for many, many years. Look at this. Here you've got clouds swirling around in circles. Look at that. See that? No, that is not a tornado. That's just an eddy current, because when the wind blows around the mountaintop, some of it comes back. You see, some of it's blowing around, some of it's blowing up, some of it's blowing down. Neat stuff. Anyway, so we've got a lot of this narrative stuff that's really locked in, and it's sad because far too many people really believe that it's legitimate. And that, to me, suggests that those of us who are involved in alternate media may be taking the situation for granted, that our rise is something that everybody is seeing. This is not true. Okay? This is simply not true. Some people are seeing us, but a whole lot more are not. And that would seem to demand that we do something about that, to get our messages seen, to talk to people more, to challenge their, gently, not hostile, but, to challenge their understanding of what reality is and give them good information. Crawling over rocks. You can see a lot of rocks. And so if we're going to make an impact this year in the election, with all of the craziness that is stacked up against us, and believe me, there is a lot of it, this is not going to be an open and shut for Trump or for any conservatives. It's not going to be. It's going to be a nasty, nasty campaign with a lot of, I'm doing my part to keep the mountain clean, with a lot of dishonest things going on. Let's see if I can show you a look down now. See how far the cloud has extended below our present altitude. Then we'll go over to the marker and then probably wrap up this video and figure out how to get down from here. Well, look at that. We're going to go on that balcony and see if we can look more straight down and see if maybe we're just at the bottom of the cloud, or if the cloud has dropped its level significantly below us. There, you can see it. See that? And I hear thunder, I think. There we go. Look at that. So this is the upstream. That's the upstream flow. So this side is cooler because as the air rises, it cools. It's raining a little bit. Look at that. Hundreds of feet down, if not thousands, to get down below the cloud. Really something. Very, very dramatic, and still a whole of clear sky. So, we have work to do. We have a lot of work to do. Now, one of the things that gives me some hope, though, is the American people themselves, the ones that I have spoken to for the most part. I've seen a couple of real weirdo cases, but most of them are normal, which should tell you something, because that is the truth. You know, the United States is not overrun with millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions of people who don't know what sex they are. It's not that way at all. There are a few of them. I've seen a few of them. But in covering however many states I've been in this trip, Florida, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and covering several thousands of miles from place to place and within such places, I've only seen like 2 or 3 people that are involved in that weirdness. Okay, I'm going to get in the car now. I've only seen about 2 or 3 that are involved in that kind of stuff, and they are not particularly aggressive about it. They just are there, and they kind of stay to themselves. Not that they are ashamed, but there's really no reason for them to make any activist declarations or say anything like that. They're just there, and people around them just kind of tolerate them and let them be. Probably like myself, they don't really know what to say. It's probably not a terribly helpful thing without proper preparation to try to confront somebody who's living like this and try to get them to turn their way of life around. They won't be able to do it. They're very, very, very sick people. But the fact that these people have grabbed so much of the dominance in the United States is very interesting. It's actually kind of funny because the Democrat campaign seems to be trying to use super woke in their campaigns as a strategy to win voters. And I don't think it's going to work. I don't think that it's going to make Democrats vote Republican, but I think it might make Democrats not vote, especially if they're Christian aligned and they see this stuff and they kind of come to say, you know what, I'm a Democrat, but this is just too much for me. I don't know what to say about this, but I can't support this stuff, and I can't support a candidate who is openly supporting this stuff and supporting infanticide, to make abortion sort of like the law of the land in a way that should be promoted. Oh, here we go. Here, a little more about the weather. See that? It is raining, but it is also sleeting. There's a little bit of frozen stuff coming down. August 6th, right? August 6th. Pretty good, right? Just a little bit. It'll probably take some time of this precipitation before it becomes a threat. So anyway, it does mean, though, I'm going to wrap up this video in like a couple of minutes, and I'm sorry for the kind of distracted post, but I did want you guys to see this and to talk a little bit, because it's just been a really long time. The point of this, the point that I wanted to talk about is simply that two things. There's a lot of people still believe in the common narrative. The mainstream networks are weaker, but still extraordinarily strong. And a whole lot of people that watch them simply, what choice do they have but to accept the information they get? If nobody is going to present them with alternate ideas, or I don't want to talk about alternate reality. There's only one reality, but I think our indies are doing a better job covering it than the mainstream is, because the mainstream has a narrative. We do too. Maybe just the mainstream media is lying to you, perhaps. That might be enough. But some people have more specific narratives than that as well. In any case, if you know something and you see a friend of yours that is deluded by something that they have read or heard or seen, talk to them. Don't do the thing like where you're trying to buttonhole them and try to win an argument in a debate, because you're just going to lose your friend. But what I've been doing is just, I ask people, like my new friend and the ophthalmologist, I asked her, how much do you want your mind to be blown? I have a lot of information I can tell you, but how much do you want your mind to be blown? Make it kind of fun. Because I think a lot of people really do want to learn. There's some that don't. There are some that are so hardened in their perspective, whatever their political perspective is, that there's no reaching them. But there are a lot of people that could easily have their minds changed if somebody just told them what was going on. It's not really hard. And people are very intelligent. They may be uninformed. And what I've seen, though, is generally people are very good. They want to do what's right. They want to be right. So give them the chance. Tell them. And I will do the same. I'm going back to Russia in a couple of days. I may do another video before I go, but this one's going up as soon as possible. And I think in fact, I think I'm going to just run this one raw, with no edits and no post-production, just because I think it needs to be that way this time, but we'll be back to a more produced format later. So anyway, have a great day wherever you are. And again, greetings from the summit of Pikes Peak. And I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Take care.